It ripped. You didn't honor purity. The rancher understood, and it shocked the whole town. The sun hung low over the horizon of the dry, dusty planet of Iridia, casting long orange shadows across the rolling plains. Jeb Hollister, the town's rancher, walked slowly along the edge of his pasture, his boots crunching softly over the pale, cracked soil. His wide-brimmed hat shaded his eyes from the glare, but it did little to hide the unease growing in his chest. Something was off. For years, Jeb had cared for the skyherds, strange, luminous creatures that grazed on the sparse alien grasses and floated slightly above the ground, their legs delicate but strong. They had been engineered to survive in the thin air and harsh sunlight of Iridia, and the townsfolk depended on them for food, energy, and even medicine. But today, the herd seemed restless. Jeb stopped and squinted at the far corner of the pasture. A faint shimmer hovered in the air, flickering like a heat haze. It wasn't the usual reflection of the sun. He frowned. Slowly he approached, his steps careful, almost hesitant. As he got closer, his heart skipped a beat. The fence, a sleek, energy-based barrier designed to contain the skyherds, had been torn. The rip wasn't just a break in the field. It seemed to hum with a strange, faint light. The energy waves of the barrier flickered around the breach, twisting like they were alive. Jeb's hand instinctively went to his belt, where he kept his small scanner. He had tools for fixing machinery, but nothing for this. He stepped closer, noticing the ground beneath the tier. The soil seemed different, brighter, almost glowing, as if the rift had changed it. The air felt heavier, and the smell of the alien grasses had a strange metallic tang. His herd watched him nervously, their glowing bodies bobbing gently in the distance. Jeb swallowed and murmured to himself, "What in the world?" He knelt and ran his fingers over the glowing soil. It was warm, but not like heat from the sun. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. A ripple of unease ran through him. He had heard stories from his grandfather, old warnings about the land. Legends spoke of artifacts buried deep beneath the planet, relics of a civilization that had vanished long ago. Those who disturbed the relics were said to invite strange consequences, but Jeb never believed them. They were just stories, until now. Jeb stood up and scanned the pasture. The breach was small, no more than a meter wide, but it seemed to stretch deeper than the ground itself. The skyherds had drifted closer, their soft humming filling the air with a strange resonance. One of them, a large creature with a translucent body that reflected the sunset, hovered directly over the rift. Its glow flickered rapidly, as if trying to warn him. He reached out slowly, holding his hand just above the shimmer. A sudden pulse of light shot through his fingers. He jerked back, startled, but it wasn't painful. The rift seemed to be alive, aware, and somehow connected to him. Jeb backed away, breathing heavily. He had never seen anything like this. Not in his ranching days. Not in the old stories his grandfather told. Not even in the strange lights that sometimes danced across the plains after storms. This was different. He knew he couldn't handle it alone. He needed help. Someone who understood the science behind strange energy and alien artifacts. And there was only one person he could think of, Mara, a wandering scientist who had arrived in town a few days ago, just as the last orbital storm had passed. She had an eye for unusual energy patterns and a curiosity that bordered on obsession. Jeb turned and walked quickly toward the town. His mind raced. How had the rift appeared? Had one of the skyherds caused it? Or had the old stories been true all along? The town itself was quiet. Most of the people had finished their daily chores and were settling in for the evening. The narrow streets were lined with low metallic buildings that gleamed faintly under the orange sky. Children ran past, their laughter echoing softly, and shopkeepers called out the last sales of the day. No one seemed to notice the strange energy pulsing from Jeb's ranch. He found Mara in the small laboratory she had set up on the edge of town. Glass tubes and metal instruments were scattered across tables, humming quietly with low energy currents. She looked up from her work, adjusting her goggles as she noticed Jeb. "What's wrong?" she asked, standing quickly. He didn't answer at first. He simply pulled her along toward the ranch, pointing to the shimmering rift as they walked. "Look," he said finally, voice tight with worry. Something's happened at the pasture." Mara frowned, her eyes widening as she saw the energy tear. She reached out carefully, holding her own scanner above the glow. Numbers and readings flashed across her display. This isn't natural," she murmured. "It's like a distortion in the very fabric of the soil, and it's reacting to you, Jeb." Jeb felt a chill run down his spine. "Reacting to me? What do you mean?" Mara shook her head, her brow furrowed. I don't know yet, but whatever this is, it's intelligent. Or at least it responds to intent. Look at how the light pulses faster when you're near. It's as if it can sense guilt, or curiosity, or caution. Jeb thought about his grandfather's warnings. He remembered the tales of the settlers, of relics buried deep beneath the planet, left untouched for centuries. Could this be one of those artifacts? He whispered.
Mara looked at him seriously.
If it is, it's active. And it's not just energy, it's alive in some way. We need to be careful. One wrong step, one wrong thought could make it unstable. They spent hours at the pasture, watching the shimmer and noting the strange effects on the sky herds. The creatures seemed drawn to it, but not aggressively. They moved closer, tilting their glowing heads as if trying to understand it too. Jeb noticed one of the smaller herd's animals hesitated at the edge of the rift, its light flickering nervously. By nightfall, the town had begun to notice faint lights above the ranch. From windows and doorways, people whispered to each other. "What is that glow?" they asked. Some speculated a new kind of storm. Others murmured old stories about the planet's relics. Fear and curiosity mingled in the air, making it feel heavier. Jeb and Mara returned to town, exhausted. They walked in silence, each lost in thought. Jeb couldn't shake the feeling that the artifact, or whatever it was judging him, measuring the purity of his intentions. And if it found him wanting, he didn't know what would happen. At the small tavern in the center of town, the mayor was holding a meeting. Curious townsfolk crowded inside, murmuring nervously. Jeb stepped forward, Mara beside him, and the room fell silent as he explained what had happened. The mayor frowned. "So you're telling us there's a glowing rift in your pasture, and it's alive?" Jeb nodded slowly. "I don't know how else to explain it. It's not dangerous, at least not yet, but it reacts to thoughts, to intentions. It's like it can see inside you." The townsfolk exchanged worried glances. Old Mrs. Calver, who had lived on Iridia since the first settlers arrived, whispered to her neighbor, "It's the artifact. It's awake." Jeb felt a pang of guilt. He had been careless. He had ignored the old warnings, thinking they were stories for children. And now something beyond his understanding was awake. Mara placed a hand on his shoulder. "We'll figure it out," she said gently. "We just need to learn how it works, and maybe we can restore whatever balance has been disturbed." Jeb nodded, but the unease didn't leave him. He looked out the window toward the ranch, where the faint shimmer still pulsed in the darkness. The sky herds floated near it, their light gentle but anxious. The town had no idea how close they were to something extraordinary, something that could change their understanding of the land forever. And Jeb knew deep down that the next days would not be easy. The breach had opened, and the old stories, the warnings, were no longer just stories. They were real. As the night grew darker, the glow from the pasture pulsed softly, like a heartbeat in the quiet desert. Jeb sat in silence, thinking of his grandfather and the tales of purity, respect, and careful intention. The rancher understood now what the warning truly meant, and he knew the whole town would soon feel the shock of it. And somewhere deep beneath the ground, the artifact stirred, waiting for the right hands and the right hearts to honor it. The morning sun stretched its first pale fingers across the town of Iridia, casting soft light on the low metallic rooftops. Jeb Hollister sat on the wooden porch of his small home, staring at the horizon where the shimmer of the pasture still pulsed faintly. Sleep had been scarce, his mind busy with questions he could not answer. Mara arrived shortly after dawn, her hair slightly tousled, carrying a small satchel filled with her instruments. She set it down carefully and joined Jeb on the porch. "You look tired," she said. "Did you sleep at all?" "Not really. I keep thinking about it, the rift, the glow, the herd. It's like it's watching me, testing me." Mara nodded. "I think it might be. Or at least it reacts to the thoughts and emotions of those near it. We need to figure out what it wants, and fast." "Do you think it's really an artifact? Something old, from before the settlers came?" Mara looked toward the horizon where the shimmering pasture lay. "It has all the signs. The energy is unlike anything we've seen before. It's alive in some sense, and it responds to the herd and to us. I've read stories of the ancient civilizations on Iridia. They left relics that tested respect and intention. Maybe this is one of them." Jeb rubbed his temples. "Great. So we're dealing with a glowing judgment machine." Mara chuckled softly. "More like a teacher than a judge. If we handle it carefully, maybe we can learn from it, not fear it." After a quiet breakfast, they set out for the pasture. The townsfolk watched curiously as the two of them approached the glowing rift. The sky herds drifted nearby, their luminescent bodies floating lightly over the ground. They seemed calmer in the morning light, but still drawn to the shimmer. Mara knelt beside the rift, placing a small device on the ground. It beeped softly and projected a faint blue map of the energy field around the breach. Jeb watched as the color shifted in response to the skyherd's movements. "Look at this," Mara said, pointing at the display. "The energy isn't random. It has patterns, almost like it's trying to communicate." Jeb crouched beside her. "Communicate with who?" "Ah, us maybe. Or the herd. Or both," Mara said. "It responds to movement, attention, and perhaps intention. The more pure and calm your thoughts, the more stable the energy." Jeb frowned. "So if I'm worried or scared, it reacts badly?" "Exactly. That's why we need to approach carefully. Fear and panic could make it unpredictable." The rest of the morning passed with careful observation. Jeb moved slowly among the herd, speaking softly to each creature, feeling their nervous energy. The glow of the rift shifted as he walked, pulsing gently like it was breathing. Mara adjusted her instruments, taking notes of the subtle changes. As the sun climbed higher, Mara finally spoke. "I think we need to understand why it appeared now. Why the artifact has become active after so many years." Jeb scratched his head. "Could it be the herd? Did we accidentally trigger it?" Mara considered this. "Possibly. But I think it's more than that. Perhaps it was waiting for something. Something about the town, or maybe the way we've treated the land." "You mean my family?" "My grandfather warned us, and I ignored him. Could this be because of that?" Mara placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's not punishment, Jeb. It's awareness. The artifact doesn't judge like we do. It responds to balance and care. If you show respect now, it will stabilize. If not, well, that's why we need to learn from it quickly." Jeb nodded slowly, understanding dawning on him. He looked at the sky herds, their soft hum filling the air. "So, I have to show it that I care. That we care. But how?" Mara smiled. "Through action, patience, and focus. The herd will help us. If we calm them and synchronize with the energy, we can restore some balance." The two worked together, moving slowly among the herd. Jeb spoke softly, calling the creatures by name, soothing them, encouraging them to float closer to the rift. Mara carefully adjusted her instruments, mapping the energy's response. Hours passed. The town grew quieter as people went about their day, but small groups gathered at the edges of the pasture, curious and cautious. No one dared to approach too closely. Rumors began to spread about glowing lights, mysterious pulses, and the strange behavior of the sky herds. By late afternoon, Jeb noticed something remarkable. The rift pulsed less erratically and seemed to respond positively to the calm energy of the herd and his own steady movements. The glow softened, shifting from sharp flashes to gentle waves.
Mara's eyes sparkled. "You're doing it," she whispered.
"It's responding to your intentions. It's learning from you or teaching you." Jeb felt a mix of relief and awe. "So it's not dangerous, it's alive, but in a way that wants harmony." Mara nodded. "Exactly. And I think we're beginning to understand why it appeared now. The artifact may have been waiting for someone willing to show respect, to honor the land and its purity." As evening approached, a hush fell over the pasture. The townfolk, who had been watching from a distance, saw the herd gathered around the shimmering rift, calm and radiant. The glow of the breach shifted into a soft, steady light that bathed the surrounding land. Old Mrs. Calver, standing near the edge of the town square, whispered to her neighbor, "It's beautiful and alive. I haven't seen anything like this in my life." Jeb felt a deep sense of responsibility. He realized that the artifact was more than a relic. It was a guardian of the land. Its awakening had been a reminder, a warning that purity and care mattered, not just for him, but for the entire town. Mara knelt beside the rift one last time before dusk, her instruments recording the calm patterns of the energy. "We need to study this further," she said. "The artifact may hold knowledge of the old civilizations. If we approach it with respect, it could teach us a lot about Iridia and about ourselves." Jeb looked at the glowing rift and then at the herd. "I understand now. It's not about fear or control. It's about respect. If we honor the land and the creatures, it will stay calm. If we don't, well, then we have to learn quickly." The townsfolk, slowly returning to their homes, carried whispers of awe and wonder. The shock of the rift's appearance was giving way to curiosity and hope. Children peeked from windows, imagining glowing creatures and magical fields, while adults discussed the lessons of care and attention that the artifact demanded. As night fell, Jeb and Mara sat on the edge of the pasture, watching the soft pulses of the rift. The skyherds floated gently nearby, their luminescent bodies casting a serene glow across the land. Jeb took a deep breath. "I never believed my grandfather's stories," he admitted. "But now I think I understand. The artifact, it's not punishment. It's a teacher, and it's showing us how to honor what's important." Mara smiled. "Exactly. And we have a chance to learn, together, and maybe even guide the town toward understanding. If we respect this, it could help everyone, not just us." The two sat in silence, feeling the calm energy of the rift. The lesson of the artifact was clear. Purity, care, and attention were not just words. They were actions, choices, and intentions that affected the land, the herd, and the town itself. And as the stars of Iridia began to twinkle in the clear night sky, the town slept unaware of the subtle shift in the world around them. The shimmer of the rift pulsed softly, a reminder that something ancient and wise had awakened, ready to guide those willing to honor its lessons. For Jeb, Mara, and the townsfolk, the revelation was only the beginning. The artifact had appeared for a reason, and the days ahead would demand attention, patience, and respect. The harmony of the herd, the land, and the town itself depended on their understanding, and on their willingness to learn from something far older and wiser than themselves. And so, under the glowing pulses of the rift and the watchful eyes of the skyherds, the rancher began to see the first steps toward harmony, understanding, and hope. The sun rose slowly over Iridia, spilling soft pink and gold across the desert plains. The shimmer in Jeb Hollister's pasture had become brighter with each passing day, and the town's curiosity had grown into quiet concern. Families gathered at the edges of the town, watching the gentle glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. Jeb stood at the edge of the pasture, his wide-brimmed hat tilted low against the light. Mara arrived shortly after, carrying a small satchel of instruments and notebooks filled with observations from the previous days. The two of them had spent long hours studying the rift, the herd, and the subtle shifts in the land around it. "This morning it feels stronger," Mara said, adjusting her goggles. "The pulse is steady, but it's like it's testing us again. I can feel it too. The herd is calm, but the energy, it's tense, like it's waiting for something." Mara knelt beside the glowing rift, scanning the energy waves with her instruments. "The readings are fascinating. It responds not just to thoughts, but to the collective feelings of the town. The more calm and focused everyone is, the steadier the pulse. But if fear or doubt spreads, it reacts sharply. So, we need everyone to stay calm? How do we do that when the whole town is staring at us?" Mara looked up at him, her expression serious but gentle. "We guide them. We show them how to respect it. If the townsfolk can understand its rhythm and purpose, the artifact will stabilize. Then we start today. We get the town involved, carefully." By mid-morning, a small group of townsfolk had gathered at the pasture. Mara explained what they knew about the artifact, that it was ancient, that it responded to care and calm intention, and that it was teaching them a lesson about respect for the land and the creatures that lived on it. At first, the townsfolk were hesitant. Children clung to their parents, wide-eyed, while adults exchanged worried glances. But Jeb's calm presence, his steady voice, and the gentle movements of the herd helped ease their fears. He led them slowly toward the shimmering rift, demonstrating how to approach with care. "Do not rush," he said. "Do not shout. Speak softly, move slowly. Watch the herd. Learn from them. The artifact will respond if we are calm." One by one, the townsfolk followed. They approached the glowing rift, their eyes wide with wonder as they felt the faint pulses of energy beneath their feet. Some reached out carefully, feeling a soft vibration in their hands when they hovered over the shimmer. Others simply knelt nearby, letting the calm light wash over them.
Mara recorded every reaction, noting the subtle ways the artifact responded to collective calm.
"Look at this," she said, pointing to her instruments. "The pulse stabilizes when more people act with care and focus. It's teaching all of us together." The herd floated calmly among the townsfolk, guiding them with soft movements and glowing bodies. The artifact's glow shifted, bathing the entire pasture in warm golden light. Jeb watched with a mixture of pride and relief. The town was learning to work with the energy, not against it, but the process was not without difficulty. A small group of younger children became restless and began to run through the pasture, their laughter high and uncontrolled. The shimmer flickered sharply, pulsing faster, like a warning. Jeb hurried over, gently guiding the children back and asking them to watch quietly. "See?" he said softly. "The artifact responds to everyone. Calm and respect. That's what it wants." Slowly the children settled, their eyes wide with curiosity. Mara smiled. "It's patient. It wants us to learn, not punish. That's the key. Even mistakes can teach us." The rest of the day passed with careful observation, teaching, and subtle guidance. The townsfolk began to understand the delicate balance required to honor the artifact. By late afternoon, the shimmer pulsed steadily, almost rhythmically, in harmony with the herd and the humans around it. But as evening approached, a new challenge appeared. A sudden wind swept across the plains, carrying dust and stirring the desert grasses. The herd grew uneasy, and the shimmer flickered in response to the chaotic movement. The townsfolk watched in alarm, unsure of what to do. Jeb stepped forward, raising his hands to calm the herd and the people. "Everyone stop. Breathe. Watch the rhythm. Feel the calm, not the fear. The artifact responds to that, not panic." Slowly, the wind's effect lessened as the townsfolk followed his guidance. Children and adults alike matched their breathing, mimicked the gentle swaying of the herd, and focused on calm intention. The shimmer stabilized once again, glowing steadily and softly. Mara watched in awe. "It's incredible. It's teaching resilience, patience, and focus. Not just us, but the entire town. This is why it appeared now, because we needed the lesson together." Jeb nodded, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. He looked at the town around him, at the people who had once been skeptical or fearful. Now, they were part of the process, learning to honor the energy, the land, and the herd. As night fell, the shimmer became a soft golden light that stretched across the pasture. The townfolk gathered in small groups, speaking quietly about what they had experienced. Some were amazed, some thoughtful, and some even teary-eyed at the realization of how small actions and intentions could shape the world around them. Jeb walked slowly to the edge of the shimmer, feeling the calm energy wash over him. The herd drifted nearby, their glow gentle and reassuring. He realized that the artifact was not just teaching about care for the land, it was teaching about community, patience, and unity. Mara joined him, her eyes reflecting the soft glow. "You've done well, Jeb. We've made progress today. But the artifact is still active. Tomorrow we'll learn even more about what it wants from us." Jeb nodded. "I understand. It's not done with us yet, and I'm ready to learn." As they watched the stars appear in the clear night sky of Iridia, the shimmer pulsed softly like a heartbeat. The town was quiet, but the lesson of the artifact had begun to sink in. Each person had played a part, and each person had contributed to the harmony of the herd, the land, and the artifact itself. Old Mrs. Culver, who had observed quietly from a distance, whispered to herself, "It's a reminder that respect, care, and patience matter. Not just for the land, but for all of us." The artifact had challenged them, guided them, and now was showing them the path to balance. It was not a test of fear or punishment. It was a teacher, revealing truths about harmony, community, and the importance of mindful action. Mara carefully packed her instruments as the town slowly returned to their homes. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "we'll go deeper. The artifact may reveal more about its origins, and maybe even the civilization that created it, but we must remain patient. Calm. Respectful." Jeb smiled, a tired but genuine smile. "I've learned that lesson today, and so has the town. We're ready to listen." As the night grew deeper, the shimmer of the rift glowed faintly under the stars, a reminder of the lessons yet to come. The herd rested nearby, their luminescent forms casting gentle light over the desert plains. And in the quiet, Jeb felt a profound sense of understanding. The artifact was not a danger to fear, nor a machine to control. It was alive in its own way, teaching lessons that could only be learned through respect, patience, and harmony. And as long as the town honored those lessons, they would find balance, not just with the artifact, but with each other, the herd, and the land they called home. Tomorrow promised new discoveries. The shimmer would continue to pulse, and the town would continue to learn. But for now, under the soft glow of the artifact and the watchful eyes of the sky herds, Jeb felt the first real sense of peace he had known since the rift appeared. And deep beneath the ground, the artifact waited, patient and wise, ready to reveal the next chapter of its story. The morning sun rose gently over Iridia, painting the desert plains with soft shades of gold and pink. The shimmer in Jeb Hollister's pasture glowed steadily, a calm pulse that seemed to breathe in time with the wind. The town had grown used to its presence, and the skyherds floated quietly, their luminescent bodies shimmering softly in the morning light. Jeb stood at the edge of the pasture, his wide-brimmed hat low against the sun, watching the glow. He felt a strange mix of pride and responsibility. The artifact had taught them patience, respect, and calm, but now it was time for the next step. Mara approached him, her satchel full of instruments, notebooks, and charts. She smiled. "It's ready. I can feel it. The artifact has stabilized enough for us to attempt the final alignment with the herd in the town. This is the moment we've been preparing for." Jeb nodded slowly. "Then let's do it. The herd, the town, everyone needs to be involved." By mid-morning, the townsfolk had gathered once again at the edge of the pasture. Children clung to their parents, and adults stood in quiet anticipation. They had learned much over the past few days, how calm thoughts could stabilize the shimmer, how intention mattered more than action, and how working together could bring balance. Jeb stepped forward, addressing the town. "Today, we will honor the artifact together. This isn't about fear or control or even magic. It's about respect, care, and harmony. If we do this right, the shimmer will stabilize completely, and we will understand the lessons it wants to teach us." The townsfolk nodded, some smiling nervously, others deep in thought. Mara handed out small, smooth stones she had collected from the surrounding plains. "Hold these in your hands. Focus on calm, positive thoughts. The energy of the artifact responds to your intent. Think of harmony, peace, and respect for the land and the herd." Jeb guided the herd closer to the shimmer. The creatures floated gracefully, their glowing bodies casting gentle light across the sand. Each step was deliberate and careful. The herd's movement was synchronized, and the artifact's pulse began to respond to the unified energy of humans and herd alike. Slowly, the townsfolk began to move closer, carrying Mara's stones and focusing on the harmony around them. They matched their breathing to the gentle rise and fall of the herd, letting their fears and worries drift away. The shimmer pulsed in rhythm with their combined intent, softening and stabilizing like a calm sea. For hours, the town worked together, guided by Jeb and Mara. Every person had a role, from the youngest children to the oldest elders. Some sang softly, their voices carrying across the pasture, while others simply stood in silent focus. The herd drifted among them, its soft hum blending with the human voices to create a symphony of calm and intent. The artifact responded beautifully. The shimmer brightened, no longer chaotic but smooth and even, radiating warmth instead of flickering energy. The ground beneath their feet seemed more solid, the grasses around the pasture standing taller, healthier, and brighter than before. The air itself felt lighter, filled with a sense of peace and understanding. Jeb watched, his heart swelling with pride. He had never seen the town come together like this. He looked at Mara, who was beaming as she adjusted her instruments to record the stabilized patterns. "It's incredible," she whispered. "The artifact is fully in harmony. It's responding to us, to all of us, together. We've done it." Suddenly, the shimmer shifted, and a faint warm light rose from beneath the surface. Jeb stepped forward cautiously, feeling a gentle vibration through the soles of his boots. The glow shaped itself into a small, translucent shard that floated above the ground, pulsating softly in time with the herd in the town. Mara's eyes widened. "It's a gift," she said softly. "Or a message. The artifact is sharing a part of itself with us." Jeb knelt and reached out carefully, letting the shard hover just above his hand. He could feel a gentle energy flowing into him, a quiet sense of understanding. The artifact had shown them how to respect the land, the herd, and each other. It had revealed that harmony was not just about calm thoughts. It was about intentional care, community, and trust. The townsfolk gathered around, watching in awe. The children reached out, holding the stones Mara had given them, feeling the same gentle pulse of energy that Jeb had. Parents whispered quietly, marveling at the bond between the artifact, the herd, and their own community. Old Mrs. Calver stepped forward, leaning on her cane, her eyes misty. "I have seen many things in my life," she said softly, "but nothing like this. The artifact, it has reminded us of what truly matters. Care, respect, and attention, not just to the land, but to each other." Jeb smiled at her, feeling the weight of her words. "You're right. We were careless at first, ignoring the stories of the past. But now we understand. The artifact has taught us the lesson without harm, without fear, only through patience and attention. Mara knelt beside Jeb, carefully observing the shard. It's stable now. And I think it's done testing us. It has shown us the way forward. The townsfolk, feeling the calm energy of the artifact, began to relax fully. The shimmer spread softly across the pasture, bathing the sky herds in warm light. The creatures floated gracefully, their glow blending with the shimmer in a perfect harmony that filled the desert with a sense of peace. Jeb looked out across the town. The people had changed. They were no longer fearful of the artifact, no longer doubtful. They had learned that care, respect, and unity were more powerful than fear or ignorance. The artifact had not punished them. It had guided them. As the sun set, the sky turned shades of orange and purple. The shimmer softened into a gentle glow that seemed to settle into the pasture itself. The herd drifted slowly across the plains, their light reflecting the calm energy of the artifact in the town. Jeb stood beside Mara, watching the scene with a deep sense of fulfillment. "We've done it," he said quietly. "The town, the herd, the artifact. Everything is in balance." Mara nodded, a soft smile on her face. "Yes, but the lesson isn't over. We must continue to honor it, to care for the herd and the land. That's the gift it has given us. The knowledge that respect and harmony are ongoing, not one-time achievements." Jeb looked down at the shard still floating above the ground. "I understand, and I'll make sure the town continues to learn that. The artifact has given us guidance, not just power. It's up to us to honor it every day." The townfolk slowly returned to their homes, talking quietly about what they had experienced. Children ran to their families, eager to share the wonder they had witnessed. Adults spoke in hushed tones, reflecting on the lessons of patience, care, and unity. Even the mayor, who had been skeptical at first, nodded thoughtfully as he returned to his office. As night fell fully, the desert of Iridia was calm. The shimmer in the pasture glowed softly under the stars, a gentle heartbeat that reminded all who looked upon it of the lessons they had learned. The sky herds rested, their luminescent bodies casting a serene light over the land. Jeb stood alone for a moment, watching the shimmer and the herd. He felt a quiet satisfaction, a deep sense of understanding. The artifact had not just taught the town, it had taught him. Respect, patience, care, and unity were the foundation of harmony, not only for the land, but for everyone who lived upon it. Mara joined him quietly. "Tomorrow, the town will begin the next chapter," she said softly. "But tonight, we celebrate what we've learned. The artifact is stable, the herd is safe, and the town is beginning to understand. It's beautiful, and it's alive in its own way. I'll never forget this lesson." The shimmer pulsed gently one last time, as if acknowledging Jeb's words. The artifact had completed its test, and the town had passed, not through fear, not through force, but through care, respect, and intention. As the stars twinkled above Iridia, the townsfolk slept peacefully, the herd floated silently under the glowing shimmer, and the artifact rested beneath the desert soil, patient and wise, ready to guide those willing to honor it. And Jeb knew that the lessons they had learned would last forever. Purity was not just a word. It was an action, a choice, and a responsibility. The town had been tested, the artifact had guided them, and together they had restored harmony to their home. The desert was quiet, the shimmer glowed softly, and the night air was filled with a gentle sense of peace. The rancher understood now fully, and the town would never forget what it meant to honor purity.